If you're like most people, you most probably clicked on this link to figure out what kind of mistakes you don't want to do with your e-commerce brand during Q3, especially with Google Ads, or you're part of the other half of the audience which just loves me so much, thinks I'm the best looking dude in the world, and actually wants to see more of me. I'll try to joke a little bit less, but if you're part of the first half of the individuals, then you need to know exactly what kind of mistakes you don't want to be doing during Q3, especially right now during a tough year like this, so that you can continue to scale your e-commerce brand, so that you can make sure that you consistently get sales. Because trust me, if you make these mistakes which I'm about to mention, you are going to be really putting your e-commerce brand at a very big risk of basically going bankrupt. And as unfortunate as it sounds, there's a very good chance, about 99% of Shopify stores or e-commerce brands, doesn't matter if it's Shopify, WooCommerce, whatever the case might be, might as well end up going down the hill this year. Experience with this now with some of the e-commerce brands I'm currently working with. For example, this specific fashion brand which came to me under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, which I've been dealing with for quite some time now. As you can see right here on my screen, there was a big dip all of a sudden with sales, and the most unfortunate thing is there was literally no changes done during this time period, which could have resulted in this downward economic churn. Now, as you can see, we kind of recovered from it quite well. Things are looking a bit better, but this period right here did actually kind of halt the scaling process, which is a very big thing that's happening right now. A lot of e-commerce brands are actually finding it a bit difficult to continue scaling. Moving on now to another brand, which I would like to show you guys, again under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing. Same issue here. Things were absolutely insane for the longest time ever with this specific brand, but more towards the middle of this year, so basically from May all the way up till now, which is July 25th when I'm recording this video, there was sort of a dip in overall sales. Now, this store specifically, I just started working with it recently, so there was a bigger dip that happened, and that's when the store owner came to us to basically start working with them. But if you are yourself facing this, it's just gonna go worse and worse if you continue making these mistakes, which I'll be covering in this video. But let's jump right into mistake number one, and that mistake is trying to scale during Q3. Now, hold on, don't go crazy with this. If you are somebody that wants to scale your revenue specifically during Q3 of 2022, this is one of the worst times to do that, period. Unless you're fine, of course, seeing your money just vanish out of thin air, just go to the Google Ads gods. If that's the case, you can do that. And in fact, a lot of these e-commerce brands I've been working with were unfortunately doing that for the longest time ever. But instead of scaling with a revenue, you should instead be focusing on something completely different. And before I tell you exactly what that different thing should be, let's go on over to this specific link right here, which covers Amazon's Q1 earnings of 2022. And I'll tell you in just a second why Amazon is basically the big behemoth of e-commerce and why I always look up to Amazon and basically how it is doing. So just quickly reading it, we can see with Amazon, operating cash flow decreased by 4.1% to $39 billion for the trailing 12 months. In addition, free cash flow decreased to an outflow of $18.6 billion. And the most important number, net loss, was $3.8 billion for Amazon. That's right. This year, Amazon went into a full-on loss of $3.8 billion. Now, I know there's all sorts of sirens and alarm bells going on in your head right now, and I would kind of feel the same way, but don't panic. I'm here to save you. Of course, not really save you, but just I'll do my best to make sure you don't have such a big number on your own, because this would be devastating for 99.9% of the e-commerce brands out there. So the reason why Amazon was going in a loss was due to another piece of information which was not necessarily mentioned right here on this website, but if we dig a little bit deeper, we will be able to find it, and that is advertising cost increased by over 20%. Now, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I will put it up here on my screen for you. And that is the reality with what is going on in 2022 with Google Ads, with e-commerce to begin with. Costs are going through the roof. A lot of people are trying to do exactly this number one mistake, which is trying to scale. And as a result, they are definitely increasing their ad spend, but on the downturn, they're not able to get as much of a revenue, if any increase at all. In fact, 99% of the Shopify stores e-commerce brands I'm seeing are actually going the opposite way, which is downwards in terms of revenue growth. So you really want to keep this in mind. If you have scaling your revenue in the back of your head. And that's not the only thing that is happening when it comes to Google Ads specifically. I'm noticing a lot of other trends that are currently going on with Google Ads, with e-commerce, some trends such as lowering of the ad spend, and also trends such as the impressions going down. So to illustrate this, I'm gonna go inside one of the e-commerce brands I'm working with under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, which if you're doing $30,000 or anywhere close to that or above, you need some extra hand holding, maybe a little bit of extra help during this rough time to scale further. Of course, not the typical scale that you might be thinking of with revenue, but rather with profits. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can make that happen. But if we compare this month to the previous month, we can see exactly what is going on overall in terms of the cost, all of that stuff. So clearly for this ad account, the cost has increased significantly and conversions have also increased just by 1%, nothing too crazy for this fashion brand. But cost over conversion has increased. Impressions, as you can see, are actually down, which is very weird. You know, I'm paying more to Google, so I expect Google to show my ads to more people. But Google, being Google, doesn't want to listen to me. It wants to lower the impressions. And again, it's not really Google's fault, because overall there's just a lower number of people actually searching for the products this store has to sell. So conversion value has definitely gone up in this case, and because I'm applying a lot of the techniques which I'm going to be showing you guys, and all of the mistakes which we were doing initially we stopped doing, the overall ROAS has increased. But even then, it's only a 2.16, nothing too crazy. But definitely lower ad spend is a norm here, and as you can see, for this brand, ad spend hasn't really lowered, but considering the overall improvement in results, it should have been much higher, but it is not. And on the contrary, impressions are also low. So very weird situation right over here. Lower ad spend, majority of the brands, those that at least are still following these mistakes, and impressions going down. But here, what you want to instead be focusing on is not scaling the revenue, but rather scaling the ROAS. Yes, this is the time where you want to put your ego aside. I know I've fallen for it myself. I just love those revenue numbers. I mean, it's so beautiful, you know, seeing those $100,000, $200,000 months, and it really gives you an ego boost. I know it did for me at least, but I soon realized that ego boost does not equal me being able to fulfill my dreams, being able to fill my bank account with some fat cash. So this is one of the gravest mistakes you can do, which can cost your e-commerce brand tremendous amounts of scale, tremendous amounts of growth long term, especially when Q4 is just around the corner. Trust me, Q3 is not the time to scale your revenue. But this brings me to mistake number 2, and that is lower the speed of important processes. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? As with mistake number 1, if you're getting lower amounts of revenue, what majority of the e-commerce brands will do is they will try to lower the ad spend, they will try to lower the expenses, and they will basically go in panic mode. This is not the time to go in panic mode. This is not the time to do everything yourself. In fact, there has been no better time to go out and in processes, different types of marketing angles, strategies, consultants, all of that good stuff, because right now you need to be focusing on how you can drive more sales at a profitable rate, or you should be fully focusing on ROAS. There should be nothing else that you should be focusing on. So yes, kind of eliminate all of the other non-important tasks, but your main number 1 goal should be, of course, to focus on getting more sales and to basically focus on profit. So some important things that you should not be stopping during this time include things like adding different products, trying to source different products, maybe from different suppliers, trying to find cheaper suppliers. Those things should be ongoing, because again, your long-term goal here is not Q3, it's to prepare for Q4 the right way. You are not going to be able to kind of reap the benefits, get profits during the time period when you should be getting profit. So Q3 is really not about scale. Again, it's all about just focusing more on the important things. Also, along with that, you should be focusing on your back-end development. There has been no better time to focus on your Klaviyo flows, email flows, SMS remarketing, your Google Merchant Center feed, your shopping feed, all of that important stuff. Now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to get ready. Again, if you're not sure how to do this, I don't recommend you try to figure it out on your own, because it's going to cost you a lot of money and energy long term, and you won't be ready in time for Q4. So get help. I can help with Google Ads side. If you need other types of help, there's a lot of other people out there who can do it for cheap as well. But again, don't forget to hire for the important tasks, like of course handling your Google Ads or anything else. But this brings me to mistake number 3, one of the gravest things you can do, and that is to focus on manual campaigns, or basically do a lot of labor work yourself to increase your profits. Now, trust me, I know that, again, like I said, this is the easiest time to just give up on everybody, to just say, screw you, I'm gonna do everything myself. I mean, I've done it a gazillion times myself, and every single time I've limited my performance, limited my growth when I have done that. So keep kind of control over yourself, keep control over your emotions. Your emotions can get crazy during this time, and just focus on just knowing what you know and doing what works and what has gotten you results. So a lot of the times, what you want to understand is the algorithm is greater than human control. Algorithm is much more powerful than anybody, than you, than me, than your mom, than your dad, than your brother or sister, or that expert Google Ads marketer who knows everything that he's talking about. I'm kind of talking about me here, but that's just the truth. There is really nothing out there right now, at least, that is smarter than that robot, which is the algorithm. So you want to give a more control to the algorithm, let it decide its things, of course, making sure that you have enough data for the algorithm to take calculated steps and to be correct about the things that it does, because again, it's smarter and it is more adept at making those changes during kind of an uncertain time like this. So one thing I want to let you know is that during a time like this, the bids will fluctuate tremendously. It's all because of a changing economy. People are buying differently. People's expectations, people's desires are just all over the place. I mean, this time period, more people are saving money than ever before because they just don't know what's going on, and we can't really blame them. So during a time period like this, it's not ideal for you to go in and micromanage your campaigns because you don't know what's the right bid, you don't know what's the right target ROAS, etc., etc. So focus more on smarter bidding. Just let Google's algorithm do the trick, and I promise you, if you just kind of take a general approach to it, just keep your eyes on it, don't let it go too crazy, but give it the freedom that it needs. And also same thing for your team members as well. You can really change the trajectory of your e-commerce brand. Make sure you lead out of Q3 profitably into Q4, because Q3 is all about getting ready for Q4, and right now we are basically in the middle of Q3, which is about to end shortly. But again, forget micromanaging, just kind of give up control a little bit. But this brings me to point number 4, which is release the control but maintain budgets. Now, going back to what I just said earlier, you do want to give up just a little bit of your control, let the smarter based things, the algorithm, all of that good stuff, take more of the control over you, but at the same time, don't let it go crazy. You want to release just a little bit of control over your campaigns, over your team members even, and let it manage itself, let it come up with its own ideas. So for instance, with a Performance Max campaign or a Smart Shopping campaign, which is unfortunately going smart extinct, and for all of those Smart Shopping fans, we can arrange sort of like a group call where we all cry and whine about how Smart Shopping is unfortunately going away, because it does truly suck that Smart Shopping is going away. But that's just another video. With Performance Max, it's much smarter, but at the same time, you don't want to let it run without a target ROAS at a $5,000 a day budget. I am currently testing out different strategies, especially those where I just don't check a target ROAS percentage and let the campaign run at a very small budget. If you want a video on that, let me know down in the comment section below. But definitely just leave a little bit of control there, and especially with the budget, at least not necessarily with bidding the campaign, let the algorithm do the rest. Same thing with your team members. If you already have a bunch of team members, don't go crazy trying to limit what they do. Let them expand on their horizons. Let them decide a lot of the things, because this is where a lot of their creativity, this is where a lot of their personalities will come out. And you never know, that guy that just stares at a wall in the corner of your office might be the reason why you'd make 5,000 more profit by the end of Q3. So just let them go with the flow, control them slightly, but don't over control them. And that brings me to the most important part of Q3, which you don't want to do, which would be a big mistake, and that is forget the main goal. Now, I know as the head of your e-commerce brand, or maybe you're working at somebody else's e-commerce brand, you're a digital marketing manager, whatever the case might be, you often go into the short-term mentality where you're just trying to look at that result that you got from yesterday or in the last 2 days, and things don't look good, so you're panicking. You're starting to forget what you really want to achieve with that e-commerce brand. What you never want to do with Google Ads is forget your main goal. Your profits and most of your revenue will come during Q4 if you prepare during Q3 properly, if you end Q3 on the right path. If you panic, if you make the wrong decisions right now, unfortunately, I can guarantee you that you're gonna go down the wrong rabbit hole, and Q4 is gonna be the same or even worse for you, because in a lot of cases, lost a lot of money during Q4. I mean, if you just search my name up on Facebook, you can see a lot of stupid questions I used to ask when I was a beginner with Facebook, with Google Ads, all of that stuff when it comes to e-commerce, about how I was making money, but I was at the same time losing money. And it's just kind of crazy to think about that. But man, that's been a long journey trying to maintain all that profits. But if you don't want to go down that same rabbit hole, I can tell you that the number one thing you should be doing is focusing on your main goal. Again, profits and massive scale will come during Q4, so don't beat around the bush. Don't kind of look at your numbers right now and get discouraged and forget your plan or way of attack when it comes to your campaigns. Just continue doing what works for you. Maybe lower the ad spend if you absolutely need to, but really focus on that long-term potential and the long-term growth, because I can promise you, if you follow the right strategies, which you know work, if you follow a lot of my other Google Ads videos within my Google Ads playlist as well, or if you get help, you are going to be much further ahead than the normal average e-commerce store owner. But again, if you're doing anywhere close to $30,000 or more in sales, you need a little bit of extra help scaling your e-commerce brand to the next level, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com, book a free call with me to see how we can make that happen. But if you found any type of value in this video, make sure to destroy the like button and destroy that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video.